Warm greetings, Manhwa enthusiasts. We meet again in a world brimming with intrigue and adventure. Today, we will unfold a new chapter of the tale. The regressed son of a duke is an assassin. Prepare to be captivated by the enthralling plot and unexpected characters. So take your seat, ready your heart and mind, because our adventure's about to begin. Right now. The inspection team found Cyan lying unconscious. Then he was taken back to the camp. Cyan earned the nickname, the boy who survived from Devil Dragon. Then Cyan and Princess Erin returned to the monastery on the Velius border, which was temporarily used as a military hospital. There, Cyan underwent treatment after the incident at the border camp yesterday. Cyan, who was still sitting in bed, was shocked by Princess Erin's words. Blushing, Princess Erin asked Cyan to date her. Cyan was shocked by Princess Erin's words. Hearing Cyan flatly reject her invitation to have a serious relationship, Princess Erin was very surprised and immediately looked shocked by the statement that came out of Cyan's mouth. With her head bowed in gloom, tears began to wet her still blushing cheeks and her trembling body. Princess Erin said, "You're right. I'm just the fifth princess who has no power." Afraid of making Princess Erin cry, Cyan just looked at Princess Erin by peeking with one eye only. In his heart, Cyan said that Princess Erin started to annoy him. "I know the bond that Princess Erin has in the imperial family lineage is weak, but the way she treats her own life, the result can be clearly predicted. But I also can't rule out the suspicion that Ashel is also involved as the mastermind behind the disaster she experienced." Then, Cyan began to speak with Princess Erin, saying, "You're right. Right now you can't provide any benefits to me, Princess Erin." Cyan's words made Princess Erin's crying subside, her eyes wide open as if she was shocked by Cyan's sentence. Cyan explained in more detail so that Princess Erin was not offended by his previous words. "What I mean is there are many political risks that I will receive if I get close to you." Then, Cyan uttered a sentence that made Princess Erin's heart calmer. Cyan said, "I will keep watching you until you grow into a better individual." Cyan reaffirmed to Princess Erin that his previous statement was not a promise. And Cyan asked Princess Erin not to hope too much on him. "No, I clearly understand the meaning of your words. In other words, you are telling me to improve myself until I can get recognition from you," said Princess Erin, speaking with a blush. "Just wait. I don't know when, but I will make you acknowledge me." That's what Princess Erin said with a happy smile. She wanted to prove herself to Cyan someday. Cyan responded to Princess Erin casually, because he understood that Princess Erin, who is still a child, changed her mood from gloomy to happy. The next day there was someone walking on the edge of the forest behind the camp. The person was named Renal Crimson. He used a cloak to walk through the snow-covered night. Then, Renal hid behind a big tree. He looked left and right to make sure no one was following him. Renal then took out a small dimension box from his pocket. The object immediately emitted a dazzling light. Renal's wide smile radiated after seeing the shining object and hoped that he would succeed soon. Then from behind, someone called Renal. He was very surprised because that person knew he was Renal. After that, Renal's body immediately stopped moving as if there were invisible chains binding his body very tightly. A small dimension box. Looking at its timeline, maybe it was before it was commercialized, said the mysterious person behind the tree with thick black smoke around his feet. The dimension box is an artifact with a dimensional space and is reinforced with mana that allows its user to put anything they want into it. With his black fog power, Cyan tied Renal very tightly. Cyan then said that the object Renal was holding belonged to the Royal Gera Mage Association. "I have been watching you for a full year because it seems that someone is secretly smuggling something into the Empire," Cyan said to Renal as he walked towards him. "Apparently this is the way you use. I will confiscate this." Cyan then took the dimension box from Renal's trembling, helpless hand. Renal was made very surprised when Cyan opened his face cover, because the one following him was Cyan Vert. Then Cyan took out a piece of the demonic beast's body part from the dimension box. Seeing what Cyan did, Renal distanced himself from Cyan and asked why Cyan could be there. After extracting blood from the demonic beast's corpse, You must have brought it here through the supply wagon that went to the border. So you have an informant among the supply traders? Cyan asked Renal while examining the still fresh demonic beast's finger. What are you talking about? I don't know anything, Renal replied with a frightened reaction, and as if covering up the lie he did. Cyan asked Renal not to lie, because he already knew that the blood of those monsters had been sold in the Empire's black market. Cyan suspected that the Hellhound's blood obtained by Alice also came from Renal. Cyan carefully observed the piece of the demonic beast. Renal was still wondering who leaked his information to Cyan. He intended to annihilate Cyan. Somehow he caught me. But now I can move a little. Because his body could be moved, Renal began to cast his magic called Breath Fire and prepared to attack Cyan. Renal felt that Cyan had been careless. He attacked Cyan with his magic and hoped that Cyan would die from his attack. But Renal's attack could still be avoided by Cyan. Renal admitted that the rumors he heard about Cyan were indeed true. Renal was looking for Cyan's whereabouts that disappeared, because what he saw in front of him was just the remnants of the blazing fire caused by his magic earlier. Renal sighed because he had lost the dimension box. I didn't expect something like this to happen in the middle of the move. Before Renal finished talking to himself, his hand was cut off by a sword slash covered in black fog. Cyan, who had already manifested with Kyram, released a lot of black fog, held Renal's neck and leaned him against a tree. Then Cyan asked for information about the smuggling route and the identity of the spy who collaborated with Renal. With a gaze like a demon, Cyan threatened Renal to tell the truth, or else he would torture and then kill him tragically. The next day at the trading post in the western border region of Velias, people were busy unloading wooden boxes from the train. The workers were very happy when they saw that they brought more blood than before. They didn't know that the blood they saw was not Hellhound's blood, but human blood. When they opened the last wooden box, how shocked they were because they saw Renal's headpiece still covered by black fog. All the workers at the post were very panicked, and at the same time Cyan observed them from the top of the cliff. Cyan felt that the warning he had given was enough. Mage Knight, 7-star from the kingdom of Garam, Renal Crimson. He had smuggled demonic beasts' blood from the front guard behind the Ushif Empire. The smuggled goods were brought to the Royal Garam Mage Association. The Royal Garam Mage Association, where all mages obsessed with magic gather. They study the origin and foundation of magic, as well as techniques for creating new magic. They are an association that aspires to go beyond the limits of humanity. Currently, they are making useful artifacts like the Dimension Box, but in the future they will do all sorts of strange things with demonic beasts' blood. Then, Cyan left the trading post by covering his head with a cloak again. He thought he should stop the strange efforts of the Royal Garam Mage Association. While on the way, Karam spoke to Cyan. I thought you lived for yourself. Why does it feel the opposite now? I just don't want there to be more users of demonic beast's blood, Cyan said to Karam. In a residence of the Ushif Empire, Ashel had heard that Cyan had been invited by his father to go to the front guard to fight. Ashel really didn't like that. He intended to meet Cyan as soon as possible. All the goods have been put into the suitcase. Emily was very happy to be able to return from the camp in the battlefield, which was very terrifying for her. Emily couldn't wait to follow Cyan, who would enter the academy. She really craved the environment in the academy that was far from the hustle and bustle of war, while for Cyan entering the academy was the beginning of hell for him. Because the academy is not a place that suits Emily's expectations, it is a place of social party, where envy and jealousy are rampant. People say all the instructors at the academy are handsome, said Emily, who was so excited to go there. In short, Cyan had arrived at his house. Cyan, who was walking towards the main door of his house, saw Kranz. He immediately called Kranz. Kranz was so scared that his body trembled. Without much talking, Kranz immediately ran away from Cyan. When Cyan, who was carrying a suitcase, was in front of the door, he was immediately warmly welcomed by the servants in his house. He felt something was strange, because the servants had never shown respect to him before. A lot has changed in 1 year after Cyan went to the battlefield with his father. He felt that his hard work had paid off. Then, when Cyan wanted to open his room door, he felt an energy that he never forgot. An energy that made Cyan tremble greatly because he was so angry at the person who had that energy. The person was none other than Cyan Vert. Ashel also greeted Cyan with a smile, but Cyan tried to stay calm when he saw Ashel's face. But he couldn't control his emotions. He then took his sword and tried to kill Ashel, but was held back by Karam, who was in the form of a woman. After that, he paid respect to his brother. Ashel didn't expect Cyan to still remember him while holding Cyan's hair. "I'm happy. I was worried you wouldn't remember me. I heard your sword skills have improved drastically. Someday you will help our family. You will help me and show your teeth on the battlefield," Ashel said to Cyan with a slightly sarcastic tone. Cyan agreed with his brother's words, but Cyan's gaze was very sharp with his red eyes, because he was very angry with Ashel's figure. "I'm glad to hear that. The reason I'm here is to meet you," Ashel revealed with a glance of his eyes that knew Cyan's sharp gaze towards him. "He is not someone who would glance at someone if that person is useless to him. Because I have realized his intention, I can be calm," Cyan muttered in his heart. Then Cyan answered Ashel's words by saying that he was also happy to meet his brother. Then Emily came to Cyan's room carrying her master's suitcase. Emily was very surprised by the presence of Ashel in Cyan's room. Not long after Emily's arrival, Ashel left them. Cyan's mood was chaotic. He ordered Emily to leave him alone in the room. At first Emily refused, but Cyan's aura of power immediately came out, which made Emily scared and agreed to Cyan's order. Cyan then asked Karam why he stopped him, but Karam instead asked Cyan to thank him. "Even though it was an opportunity for you, it became your golden opportunity to take over my body as soon as I was almost crushed," Cyan said firmly to Karam. But Karam had a different opinion, he said. "Don't misunderstand. I just want your anger to grow bigger. It will taste even better." With a wide smile, Cyan understood what Karam said, because Cyan knew very well the nature of his sword. Then at Ashel's resting place, he had a guest. The guest was Ashel's spy, whom he ordered to spy on the second Miss Vert. Then the spy added that the whereabouts of the second Miss Vert lived in the northern region of the continent, the land of the White Elves, Fruina. Ashel smiled, hearing the information he heard from his subordinate, and asked for further information if his sister wanted to return home. Then Ashel's subordinate asked about Ashel's meeting with his younger brother, but Ashel's facial expression immediately turned terrifying and made his subordinate scared. But what was on Ashel's mind was Cyan's sharp gaze when he saw him. Ashel suspected Cyan's gaze was like looking at a sworn enemy. Ashel also felt that Cyan was hiding something. Finally, the day of Cyan's departure to the academy arrived. The horse carriage and several horse guards were ready to escort Cyan to the academy. Emily, who was carrying Cyan's belongings, had already put his stuff into the carriage. But Emily was very disappointed because she couldn't be taken to the academy. Because of the rules at the academy, Cyan could only bring one night guard to the academy. Not wanting to be late, Cyan finally went to the academy. Cyan said goodbye to Emily by waving his hand at Emily. Emily was sad because Cyan left for the academy. In tears, Emily advised Cyan not to be sad when Cyan was bullied at the academy. Cyan understood Emily's nature because Emily was very attentive to Cyan. Cyan remembered when he was still 8 years old. He had a very high fever until he fainted. No one could take care of Cyan at that time, but only Emily took care of Cyan. She was willing to get rained on and carried Cyan to the doctor. Only Emily was so attentive to Cyan. If there was no Emily, Cyan might have died a long time ago. Cyan is very happy to be near Emily and appreciates her more than just a servant. While on the way to the academy, Cyan suddenly thought of something. Why was he escorted by 6 middle-class knights? Cyan suspected that something would happen to him before he arrived at the academy. Cyan's group entered the forest area in the late afternoon. The day was starting to get dark because the sun was beginning to set. 2 knights who were escorting Cyan gave each other a sign, because they wanted to stop in that area. Cyan, who was lying in his horse-drawn carriage, was told that he had to stop in that forest and stay there overnight. Then, Cyan asked the guard about the name of the area where they were now. The guard told Cyan that they were now in the Saffron region. Then, Cyan asked his guard to tell him when his tent was ready. But Cyan already knew that the guard was lying because there was no forest like where Cyan is now around the Saffern region. Cyan stepped down the stairs of the horse-drawn carriage. When Cyan was outside the horse-drawn carriage, he was greeted by his guards, who were already holding swords ready to attack Cyan. One of the guards was seen smiling when he saw Cyan. Cyan asked the knights who were escorting him who ordered them to kill him. The smiling knight told Cyan that he didn't need to know who ordered them. The knight then began to unsheath his sword to attack Cyan and slowly approached him. The knight asked Cyan not to talk too much. He swung his sword at Cyan, but Cyan easily avoided the knight's attack. Then suddenly, the head of the knight attacking Cyan was separated from his body. The other knights who saw this event were stunned in awe. Cyan's demonic sword began to emit light and black mist. Cyan asked the remaining knights again, who ordered them. Seeing Cyan's extraordinary power, the knights were frightened and broke out in a cold sweat on their faces. With his power of black mist, Cyan bound one of the knights in front of him so he couldn't move. The knight seemed to not believe what he was experiencing. From behind, there was a knight who wanted to attack Cyan secretly, but his fate ended tragically. His body was slashed several times by Cyan using the demonic sword. There was one more knight left alive. He pleaded not to be killed and was willing to tell everything. He then told that the one who ordered them was Lady Margaret. Then the surviving knight was asked by Cyan to drive the horse carriage to take him to the center of Saffern City. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with us today. We greatly appreciate your support and enthusiasm. Have a good rest and see you in the next episode. Keep your spirits up and don't forget to always smile. See you soon.